I think we're good.
Except I don't.
Right on the
Which one?
Come on, give it a good swap.
Give it a smack.
Come in. There you go.
Come in.
Who is it?
I call the Personnel and Human Service Committee to order at, let's see, 6:02. Committee members are Councilor Reynolds and Councilor Blair. I want to thank everybody for coming on this first spring day as we prepare for our next snowstorm. This is very exciting. On behalf of the Attleboro Municipal Council, we want to thank you for your willingness to be a part of either the Disability Commission or the Substance Abuse Prevention Council. Mayor Heroux looked forward to the day when he could appoint members and is aware that the city could benefit from your expertise. Since the mayor has appointed you, the Municipal Council can now confirm these appointments. I have invited the members of both the Disability Commission and the Substance Abuse Prevention Council tonight so that each of you can take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us why you decided to join the city in a more formal way. Following the appointment, the mayor will call the first meeting in the near future. Again, I want to thank you for your willingness to join either the Disability Commission or the Substance Abuse Prevention Council. So at this time, I'm going to invite each person to come up and talk a little bit about why you decided to join. So the first person is Angela Ferreira, who will be joining the Disability Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. I have been actively pursuing reestablishing this commission for over 3 years. It's important to me. I'm a person who's hard of hearing. I have a hearing aid in one ear. It's rather an invisible disability, but it is a disability. I'm a parent of 3 children, 2 of which have disabilities. I currently serve on the Attleboro Special Education Parent Advisory Council, working on supporting families in the school district who have students receiving special education support because they have disabilities. I'm passionate. I have 1,000 ideas already on things that we could do with this commission in our community, and just thrilled to see it finally getting off the ground.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Not really a question. Angela, thank you for coming in tonight. We know each other quite well.
We do.
And this is a conversation, tonight should be a crowning achievement for you as well as the mayor. This is something that you and I have talked about repeatedly, and we've tried to get it off the ground previously, and I'm so pleased and happy that you're part of this. I know how driven and the passion that you have for this, and I look forward to hearing all sorts of great things from this council.
Thank you. And I appreciate all the support I've gotten from you and your husband in supporting my family personally and in pursuing this, as well as Diana and Laura have really helped me on this journey to get here. So thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next person is Mary Jane Jensen.
I do not know if the microphone is on, but I'm having a very difficult time hearing, which is one of my disabilities. I am very interested, obviously, in helping people who are disabled. I was a registered nurse for over 50 years, and I have a degree in divinity, which gave me another outlook on those who need help and with their disability, whether it be physical or emotional. And all of a sudden, I found myself using a cane, and I found it difficult to get to some places, but since I've been relegated to my wheelie, as I call it, I'm finding it extremely difficult to get into places. And I'm thinking about all these people that I had taken care of, how they are functioning, and I see people downtown, and I'm wondering how they function, because there are situations where the shoveling of the walks isn't quite right, and you try to walk up the slide to get on the walk, and you can't, or else the stairs are there and they don't have any other facility. I am looking forward very much to being on this committee, and hopefully I will be able to contribute much to it. Do you have any questions? Thank Thank you.
We need you. We need you. We're
Thank you.
excited to have you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. The next person is Jennifer Davies.
The emotional and physical portion together on that. That's a great appointment.
Hi. I don't know if I need a microphone. I have a loud voice. My name is Jennifer. I was diagnosed at age 25, 15 years ago with MS. When they tell you that you have this disease that's so new to you, there's no handbook. They don't tell you what your rights are. They tell you that you're probably going to be sick for the rest of your life. Here you go out into the world. I would like our commission to be a place where people can go to find out what their rights are, to find out what the opportunities are for them, to answer questions, because there are so many questions and it's really hard to find answers. How do I apply for Social Security disability? What happens if I'm discriminated against? What does Medicare pay for? These are questions I had to find the answers to myself, and I'd love to be a place where people can go and will have those answers or be able to get them for them or with them. It can be really lonely to be disabled. You can feel very isolated. We need to have a place where people can come and feel accepted and feel like they're not being judged. And that goes for mental illness as well as for physical disabilities. I think that that's important for this city.
Thank you. And I know our door was like shut too as we were talking about the challenges sometimes. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I did walk halfway around the building to see if there was another entrance, but that was as far as I got. So I stopped and waited. And in addition to these meaningful things for people with disabilities, there are always going to be housekeeping things. Things like, I went to the courthouse the other day to look for a document, and the handicap spot was full of snow. I couldn't get in because there was no access to the ramp to bypass the stairs. Things like that we need to be aware of, really aware of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Oh, hold on one second.
So again, thank you for coming in tonight. MS is a huge challenge. My dad suffers as well, and we've lived a life where we've had to kind of operate around the same challenges that you operate around. I'm glad that you're similarly to who was just up, there's a social and emotional portion to all of this, and I think that you will be great at bringing both of those things to the table so people have a better comprehensive understanding of what it is like to be someone with a disability and how to be able to work around that.
Well, thank you.
So I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for volunteering.
You're welcome.
Susan Jensen.
Hi. I just want to say a little something. Since my early childhood, I've been very aware of the unmet public awareness in the regard for the physically or intellectually disabled. Whether it was a family member as a child or a client or myself, I have been physically, verbally assaulted and made physically uncomfortable by individuals who just don't get it. As they say, you don't look like it or whatever, and I will say, well, I didn't bring my dog today, so, and people will often say, why is your dog with, it says hearing. I said, because people leave me alone that way. So it's a terrible place to be. I cannot tell you how many times, especially at CVS in South Attleboro, I have confronted the same woman a number of times for parking where they do not honor handicapped parking spots. And I know when I used to take care of my grandmother, it was so hard. And now, you know, as a child, I grew up asthmatic, but now I had lupus, which they did not know. I have a hereditary condition called ankylosing spondylitis. There are about 10 or 12 women in the country with ankylosing spondylitis and lupus. I also have scleroderma or crest. And so between that and fibromyalgia, some days I look good, and other days I am limping and I'm in so much pain. It has caused migraines my whole life. It has caused loss of hearing, and it's just very frustrating. as you can well imagine, because sometimes, like, I know I have to park in the handicap spot. I might be walking okay, but when I get out of that supermarket, I am not going to be okay. And so people judge on that. I have, on 3 occasions over the last several years, left messages for an individual regarding the lack of handicapped accessible parking at the YMCA, and they have been unreturned. So years ago when someone mentioned this committee, they were trying to get it going, I applied then, and about, I don't know, 6 months ago, I got a call from William Bowles asking if I was still interested, and I said definitely. So the passion is still there. But, and then when it was in the, and when our mayor was going around on his bicycle during the pre-election time, I mentioned it again, because I really feel that it's a terrible thing, but people really don't notice. And when I broke my leg in half one time, I had to use a cane and a walker for 3 years for rehab. People plow right through you. I've seen them plow through my mother. You know, I've seen them be, even at Target, verbally abusive. And it's just, I think we really need to educate the public, and I don't know how you're going to educate a bunch of adults who may be educating their children to disregard us as well, but we're here. We're going to stay, and this time we're going to hopefully make some changes and let other people know that we do mean business. We pay our taxes, and we're part of this community. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Hold on one second.
Wait. Hold on back. No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
You see when I back up, and then everyone goes like...
Everyone falls over. So, Susan, thank you very much for volunteering your time. I am hopeful, you know, as some of your comments, it made me really think about your personal experience will help aid and spread the theme of inclusiveness. Yes. That is alive and well, is from my experiences in the younger grades at the high school, and it's time to teach the adults. You know, it isn't something. This is something that we discuss in my family on a regular basis. All 3 of my children are very much involved in Special Olympics and Best Buddies and things like that, and they taught me how to be more inclusive. It isn't something that people my age and older were taught. So I'm hopeful, again, with the reenactment of this commission, that we can do a whole lot of education for adults so that they catch up with the kids that are behind them.
I had a great aunt. She was intellectually disabled, and I went to the Lincoln Elementary, which just got plowed down. And I remember being in the playground playing with my friends, and she'd ride her bike by and wave, and I'd stop and talk to her, and the teacher would be like, get away, get away. And I'd be like, that's just my aunt. Don't you lie. You know, funny things like that. I have 3 nephews, and 2 have, well, one is autistic. He's very artistic, very talented. And I did work for several agencies, and I learned so much about adults who were at one time, that were probably normal people that at one time were just placed in as a state ward, as well as, you know, young people nowadays. And it's, I remember going into stores, and sometimes people tick. My nephews had Tourette's, as well as many autistic children have lots of neurological problems, and people would stare at you and like he's going to lash out at them. But I think, like you said, education at an early, teaching inclusiveness, not tolerance. Tolerance to me is a terrible word, because it gives the air that maybe you're better than they are. And I really hope that we can do something to teach our future generation, maybe our adult population, of inclusiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher Loriano? Loriano. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. So I'm here today because I am someone who considers myself to be in mental health recovery from many different things for the past almost 4 years. I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of autism at the age of 3. I also have had many life experiences with anxiety and trauma in my life. I work also in a relatively new role that's only existed for over 10 years. I work as a certified peer specialist. A certified peer specialist is someone who considers themselves to be in recovery from mental health and/or substance use. And this person is basically someone who really shares their recovery stories and shares experiences with people who have been through the same thing. And the message really is to inspire hope and to let them know that they are not alone. And the peer specialist role is so versatile, and our role can really help the people that are receiving mental health services or services of any kind to connect them to things that they would need. And sharing recovery stories is something we're able to do in a way that other providers cannot. For the past couple of years since I worked in that role, I have learned so much about myself. After receiving peer support from people who have been through the same things as me, I've never looked at life the same. And the reason why I'm here is, because our role is relatively new and because a lot of people don't really know about what we do, because a lot of times we talk about how there are gaps that we still need to have filled in terms of providing mental health services, or in this case, providing the needs of whatever the disability community, whatever they might have. And so, one of the things that I can bring to the table is really to expand peer support resources and services to the city of Attleboro, as I am also part of many different nonprofit organizations that are run by peer specialists like myself, who are also in recovery. And there are many ideas that I have floating around. And if it's not outside the scope of the Council on Disabilities, some of these ideas can kind of interconnect with the mission of the Council on Substance Abuse Prevention as well. So a couple of the ideas that I have would be things like providing job opportunities to, offer peer support in hospitals, as well as to offer adolescent peer support in places like Attleboro High School. These are just some ideas I have floating around, and I look forward to working with the Council on Disabilities as well as with the Council on Substance Abuse Prevention to figure out which ideas we can work on and how to implement them. And I have connections both in the city of Attleboro as well as outside of the city that can really help with that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hold on one second.
Sure.
Did you play the piano?
Yes.
Do you still play the piano?
On and off, yeah.
When I first got to Attleboro, that's why.
Right,
Yes.
You're a double ACS, that's right, okay.
Yes.
I'm sitting here racking my brain trying to figure out how I know you.
Yes.
I remember, listening to you.
Thank you. Julie just allowed me to sleep tonight.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad that you're here.
Thank you very
good.
much.
You have a lot to offer. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Kevin Lacoste.
That was cute.
Thanks.
Very exciting. Cannot believe it's been 12 years. Wow, that's a long time. But for me, I'm a parent of, my son has a genetic disability, Williams syndrome. So for me, I'm going to bring a couple different perspectives. One, as a parent, number one. And number two, is someone young going through the school system. There's ups and downs with everything. But again, just very excited. That's why I had to write things down. Very excited. One, just for the opportunity to serve is amazing. I just want to bring so much energy and just so happy that this is actually possible to do again. But for me, it's more or less just working together, finding out what resources there are and aren't. And then from there, you can start to mold and think of things that you can do, what's available, and then go from there with awareness. And with Angela, who I just reconnected with from the CPAC, they were doing a buddy bench, just something small. That's a fantastic idea. And they were actually doing it, getting into schools. And it's just, as bringing a son to the local park or anything, all you want is inclusion. That's all you really want to do is have a chance and an opportunity. I've heard from everyone else who's on the council about, the challenges, everyday challenges, and then the looks and all these things. And then the word that you didn't like was tolerance. The word I like to use and try to use that in everything that I do is compassion. Ignorance is everywhere. But if it's not tolerance, if you can just get a little bit of compassion and not a handout, but just, I'm telling you, you put a smile on someone's face one time, they feel like $1 million. Isn't that the truth? You put a glimmer of hope in someone, like, wow. You see them brighten up, because all they want to have is the chance to be equal and just be accepted, and that's all it really is. But if there's a way to do something more in Attleboro, or to see what's been dormant, and just want to see what's there and what hasn't been used, and with all the great resources and folks who have had, whether it's, lost my track of thought, whether it was, boy, this is pretty embarrassing. But when they feel like they've been looked down upon, and it's just such a horrible feeling. I do that with my son, and we go and you get that look. Everyone knows that look. It's like, oh. It's like, but when you're on the other side, you can appreciate, like, all it takes is that, that one person at Capron Park to say, hey, how's it going, buddy? Or whatever it might be. It's like, hey, you know what? There could be someone who has compassion and who might actually not think about themselves all the time. It's like, and that's that one glimmer of hope that you get for all the other looks that you get. And all it takes is that one little one to flip a whole day over, whether it's at a playground or a park, or with Attleboro, we have the Challenger Baseball League. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. It's great to have inclusion, but I'm telling you, when you have a bad day and you get those looks, and it's like, is segregation really that bad? You start to flip-flop, because all it takes is one to make you feel good, but it could also be that one that's on the top of the whole pile of looks, and you go, this is horrible. But with this opening on this council and having the privilege to serve, I just can't wait to see what I can do. I do this with what I do at work. I help people with what troubles them about protection, and I also want to go in to find out what are the options, because I'm not a no person. I like to say if there's no, then maybe we haven't thought of everything yet. So, no is the last resort for me. I like to make sure that we exhaust everything before you just say no. So just wanted the chance, and I'm glad it's open. And when I got that letter from the mayor, and I can't wait to see him in person to thank him, I was like, it went by, I had no timeline. I'm like, yeah, whatever. It was a shot. Then I got him, like, I'll be. And I was putting it up, I was like, forget it. Maybe next year, just hope to see someone get on and can make a difference. And, Angel's fantastic. So I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, wow. And then I saw my name. It's like, what? Get out. This is great. So please, any questions at all?
Thank you so
Anyone
much.
has any? Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, have a great
Made me
night.
so emotional. I got my bag of emotional list.
Cynthia Van Boris?
Thank you, Ron.
Hello. I've been a resident of Attleboro for 32 years on Slater Street, and so even though I'm not a native, I'm very, very loyal to Attleboro. And I'm a social worker, and most of my career has been with people with disabilities of different types. I worked in high school special education for quite a while, and now I work at Rentham Developmental Center, which people may be familiar with from the bad old days, but that has changed a lot. The people at Rentham are, for the most part, older, but when they were there, when they were younger, they were completely excluded from the community, and now it's totally different, and we're out there with our people who are very, very disabled, doing everything, and it's really wonderful. I feel very passionately about inclusion, and so I'm really thrilled to have this chance to participate, and I'm the last of the group, and I'm thrilled with all these other people, all the perspectives. It's going to be great. It's exciting, especially after all this time of not having the commission in place, so I'm just thrilled with this.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
So I gave everybody. All I just wanted to say was that I think that the selection process went very well, and I think it's a great, diverse group of people, and I think it's going to be terrific for our community.
I agree.
That's something that I'm particularly passionate about. Like I'm really excited. Like I'm equal parts like excited and emotional right now.
It is kind of emotional. So the Disability Commission hasn't taken place since 2006, so it's been about 12 years. So you guys have a lot of work to do. No, that's awesome. No, this is also an opportunity for you to get to know one another as well. So that's another reason why I was hoping to kind of bring everybody together. And then the mayor's going to call the first meeting in the near future. Anyone else have any questions before I read them? I'll read the motion. Okay. So I entertain a motion to approve the appointments for the following candidates to serve in the Council of Disability. Angela Ferreira, 94 Parsonage Way, 3-year term to expire February 2021. Mary Jane Jensen, 44 Rand Ave, Attleboro, term to expire 3 years, February 2021. Jennifer Davies, 10 Dowley Street, Attleboro, 3-year term to expire February 2021. Susan Jensen, 61 Rand Avenue, Attleboro, 2-year term to expire February 2020. Christopher Lorano, address is 218 Pine Street, Apartment 2, Attleboro, 2-year term to expire February 2020. Kevin Lacoste, 12 Brookwood Road, Attleboro, 1-year term to expire February 2019. And Cynthia Van Boris, 83 Slater Street, 1-year term to expire February 2019.
Second.
Any comments about any of this?
I just would like to thank everybody for coming in, because some of the comments that you made and some of the illness or sickness or whatever you want to call it, the disability, I have never heard of them. Some of them, you know, MS, of course, but some of the other ones that you mentioned, I had never heard of them. So, one, I give you kudos for your courage that it must take every day just to get out there and kind of struggle through many of the things that, if you don't have a disability, you almost come to just accept. And I think, Sue, it was you that said, as you might well understand, but I think that's the problem. Most people don't well understand. I mean, they don't, because it's not happening to them. So I just want to thank all of you for coming in. I think you've done an incredible service.
I have another disability, my age.
We all have that coming up, yeah.
When I'm in Market Basket and that little go-kart, nobody sees me. Just as my daughter said, they're really rude. And if I didn't have this, people, when I had the cane, people would practically knock me over.
That's horrible.
And they wouldn't see me. And then when I had this, people started seeing me a little more. But age is also a discriminated group of people.
Well, again, I thank you all.
I agree.
And that's what I just think it's amazing.
Group. I think it seems like everybody has already ideas that they were bringing forward.
It's amazing. It will be great.
Yes.
And they've been had 12 years to keep these going, so this is great. Perfect.
Unbelievable.
Thank you.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you again for coming, and you'll be in touch soon by the mayor, okay? Thank you. And next, we're going to have the individuals for the Substance Abuse Prevention Council come forward. We have John Broder.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have anxiety. I have hope. The thought that I'm standing here now discussing this it's amazing. I am a person in long-term recovery. May 30th will be 20 years clean and sober from heroin, as well as everything else, alcohol. So this is, I got clean and sober at 21. I'm 41 now. So it's been my whole adult life that I've been involved in substance use addiction since 21. I've been a counselor at the North Cottage program since 2004. I shared my own personal story at, you name it. I'm not one that, I don't know if anyone's seen the film The Anonymous People. If you haven't, it's incredible. It's about losing the stigma of people in long-term recovery and removing the word addict and removing all these words that, continue to push people down. I think education is the key, as well as treatment. I wouldn't be here without treatment and love and compassion by the people that came before me. It's been an incredible journey. I've been in Attleboro for most of my sobriety. Was not born here, but I have 3 little ones in the public school here. I volunteer at Willett often. And I do everything I can in the community, and I make, I try to make no bones about who I am either. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be standing here to have this opportunity. It's just incredible that, the trend now is there's a lot more options. There's that, and I'm familiar with most of them. I think I can bring a lot of personal experience as well as clinical experience to this board. And I look forward to having the opportunity. So.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, congratulations on your sobriety.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's not easy.
Jeffrey Bradford?
Hi, thanks. So if you look at my bio at the University of Rhode Island, I'm a professor of pharmacy, and I'm a public health specialist. I work with the state of Rhode Island doing public health things. I educate pharmacy students. I work at a hospital. I do all sorts of things, but about 5 years ago, I realized that the patients I was treating, they had diseases that had a precursor disease, and that was addiction, primarily opioid use disorder. And so I was motivated at that time by public service. I've served the federal government, state governments, things like that, in some of my work in public health. I realized, this is where we need to start in doing prevention, overdose response, treatment, recovery, these kinds of things. And it's interesting, actually, I've been really inspired by what I hear, that the theme of these 2 committees is really accessibility. I read somewhere where you shouldn't call a spot a handicap spot, but an accessible spot. And for people with addiction, since 90% of them don't receive any treatment, and even if they do receive the treatment, only a quarter of them actually get evidence-based treatment. My job as a professor and clinician and academician is to, there's a lot of big words there, but really I just want to help, and that's what I'm here to do, is to reduce the stigma, whether it's high school students I teach in Rhode Island, whether it's my college students, whether it's communities or healthcare worker stigma. I gave a talk at a national meeting just Sunday, and that was the question: how do we reduce stigma? And I don't know the answer to it, other than things like this. How about in Attleboro? I'm only 10 years here, so I'm barely a Commonwealther. I came from Midwest in a small town where my father served for 10 years on his city council, serving my town. And so I really like to give back, and I appreciate the opportunity to volunteer and help out and provide my expertise and leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Catherine Feist?
Hello. My name's Catherine, obviously. I work for Brigham and Women's. I've been there for about 4 years. I worked in primary care, and now I'm in a multi-specialty clinic, one of which is pain management. So from both experiences, I've been able to see people who struggle with addiction and issues. You break your leg, well, here, have some opioids, you'll feel better. Well, now you have an addiction, and people don't have time to go to physical therapy and do things that are best for them because they can't miss work, so they turn to medication. It's very easily accessible. And in Attleboro, I'm sure all of you know, the death rate is anywhere from double to quadruple our neighboring towns. Some of our neighboring towns in 2016 had 0 deaths while we had 18, and the number is still growing. My own family, I've had some of my family members, my own father has had addiction issues. I've lost over 10 people in the last 10 years due to addiction from my friends. It's a huge issue in our town, and it's a very personal issue for me. So I believe from my personal life and also seeing the medical field, I can tell you what some of the resources are that people probably don't know are accessible to them, as well as what is dearly missing to us and what we need in our town and need to work on to help these people. So I'm really excited to be a part of this, as well as I was a board member of the Capron Park Zoo for 6 years as a secretary as well as event coordinator. So I think I'm definitely going to be an asset to planning events, getting people together, and working as a team with the City Council to go forward with this.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Susan French.
Hi, everyone. So I really have my interest in this is twofold, both from a personal perspective as well as professional. At my job, I'm the senior manager of benefits and wellness. And our philosophy is to look at the 4 different buckets of employee wellness and their families, so physical, mental health, financial health, and work life. And one of the areas that we've really been focusing on is mental health and the opioid addiction, and how we can use our medical and our pharmacy programs to better educate and take that stigma away for our employees and our families, and really get that word out around prevention. So we've done a lot of programming around that. So from the professional aspect, that's where I'm interested in as an employer. Also, on a personal note, my husband and I are raising our 8-year-old granddaughter due to her mother's addiction. So both those areas have made this, being on this board, an interest to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Harvey.
Good evening. I grew up in Attleboro. I went all through the school systems here. Did move away for a little while, but I'm back. I've been back for a couple of years. And I had a lot of good programs over the years, and really am looking now that I have the time and ability to give back to my community. I like doing that. And this one, I think everybody knows what a huge problem substance abuse is, and I really want to maybe dig in and help people if I can, even if it's one person, help. So this is why I picked this one. It's, I guess, near and dear to me, and this hopefully can be of help to somebody. Excellent. Or some people.
Thank you.
Great. Just hearing that statistic a little while ago it's upsetting to me. So.
Thank you.
I actually know Sue. I've known her since we were kids, and I have no doubt she'll be a huge asset. Definitely. She's very caring and a hard worker, and she'll do whatever it takes to help anybody. So that's what I know about her. So I'm very happy that you're here.
Thank you.
I think we're lucky to have her.
Any other questions?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Sue. Lauren Harrell Cameron.
Hi. My name is Lauren. I am a pharmacist at County Square Pharmacy, and I'm also a student assistance prevention specialist for Caron Treatment Center, which is a nonprofit treatment center in Pennsylvania. What I do is I go into schools and I talk to kids. I talk to parents specifically, do presentations, try to educate on substance abuse. Anybody who knows me knows that I eat, sleep, and breathe drugs. I've grown up in a pharmacy. I've been in the pharmacy for almost 40 years now. And education, my professionalism, and I also have some personal experience with substance abuse. My husband's family is pretty significantly affected by it. He had a uncle that died of an overdose, and his wife died of an overdose, and their older child died of an overdose, and their sister died of an overdose. So that was one full family just completely wiped out from drugs. And it branches out from there. There's some addiction on my side of the family as well. So it's definitely near and dear to my heart. And Attleboro is my city. I've lived here. I moved away just for a short period of time so I could get my feet in the ground. And but I've been here every day, and this is where I want to be and who I want to help. The city has a lot of broken people, And with my job, I'm easily accessible. People can just walk into the pharmacy and talk to me one-on-one, which is huge. And that's what I've tried to express to people is that, you know, if you need any help, I might not be able to the person that can help you, but I can certainly refer you to someone that can, and you know, to never feel ashamed to come and talk to me, and that seems to be going pretty good so far. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
I have questions. Well, I have a comment.
Of course you do, Laura.
I've known Laura for a little while, and I'm really happy for you because I know how important this is to you. Because you talk about it all the time, you post about it all the time, and you're willing to help anybody, and I'm really happy for you that you're a part of this, and I know with everybody that you have, you guys will do well. So,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you. Christopher Semple?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Chris Semple. I live at 95 Homestead Road in this fine city. I have 4 beautiful little boys, and I raise them with an amazing wife. She's listening, that's why I said that. I am an EMT for a private ambulance service, as well as per diem on a fire department. With that, my sobriety date is May 1st, 2011. Someone has said tonight that feeling of alone. I remember being like that on May 1st, 2011. I felt utterly alone. And I want to be able to be part of a bigger picture that has a safe harbor for people that are dealing with not only addiction, but families of people that are dealing with addiction to come to ask questions where we can serve them and give them and point them in the right direction for resources. Because this is not just a disease of one person, it's a disease of a community. In raising 4 little boys in a town, I want to be able to make sure that when they're older, they have the resources that are available to me when I first got sober. It's a true passion. Sobriety is a true passion for me, and I would love to see the work we're going to be able to do with the community going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron Struminski?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think everyone here knows who I am, so I'm not going to bother to introduce myself in that manner, except to say that I've spent my life with young people, some of them right here in this room, 52 years, mainly at the high school level. 30 of those years I spent here in Attleboro, at Attleboro High School as a teacher and administrator. And had the opportunity to see young people grow up, encounter problems, deal with the problems as best they could, and many times unable to deal with them. I'm actually here tonight to talk both for myself and my wife, who was also invited to be on this commission. She had surgery last week, so she isn't able to be here. But what I do want to share is that Eileen, who is my wife, has spent also many years dealing with at-risk young people right here in the Attleboro school system. And she has a passion for helping young people. And she and I are part of the ripple effect of what it is this commission is going to deal with. I brought the reason for that ripple commission with me tonight. So during those years, I had an opportunity, part of my service after retiring was spent in Rhode Island, and spent a lot of time myself talking with, in particular, middle school students, talking to them about the risks of alcohol and drugs, going to health classes and talking with them. And how did I know so much about that? It was because I'm part of the ripple effect of what we're talking about tonight. And this is the reason. I want to share it with you. This is a picture of Stephen Straminsky when he was maybe 23, 24 years old. He was addicted. We were the family who dealt with addiction. He made it to age 29 before succumbing to that disease. So what we are going to bring to this commission is the parental aspect and the educational aspect of what we can do. And from our experience with this young man who attended Attleboro schools and never finished because of that addiction, our experience was that young people who get involved and get treatment, and you've heard from a couple of them here tonight, come out of that treatment and go right back into the population of young people that they know. And who do they know? They know others who are involved in drugs. There really isn't an opportunity to find a placement of some kind that can be supportive through the years of recovery. And there isn't ever recovery. You've heard that tonight. You heard from a gentleman who's 20 years in recovery, and he's still recovering. I went to the meetings with Stephen and heard them speak about their experience, some of which you heard here tonight. So what's missing and what I want to bring is the ripple effect. What happens to the family of people who are the victims of this disease? And what can we do to help them through this? The numbers are staggering right here in this city. They're double what they were the year before. If you look at Chief Hegney's report, right? It doubled from 2016 to 2017. We're going in the wrong direction. We need people to step forward to help out with this problem. And my wife and I are prepared to do that.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Any questions?
You've rendered me speechless, which is a virtual impossibility.
Yeah, I didn't
well
think
done.
that was possible for you.
I know you know that. I'm so grateful for your wife and for you to participate in this, because that is the challenge. That is, I have teenage children, and it's what I worry about with my kids. I've went off in college, and I worry about that. And that is something that I didn't know about you until right now. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you shared your story with us here tonight, and I'm grateful that you're on this commission, and I look forward to the work that you guys are going to do. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing that personal story.
You're welcome.
It's been since 2008 since the Council on Substance Abuse Prevention has been in Attleboro, so I really see a bright future for both of the Disability Commission and the Substance Abuse Prevention Council, and we're moving in the right direction, and hopefully the trajectory is about prevention and about education and what everybody spoke about tonight. I could see that there's a lot of passion in the room, and I'm excited for it. Any other comments before I read the motion? Okay. So I entertain a motion to confirm the following appointments of the following candidates to serve in the Council of Substance Abuse Prevention. John Broder, 149 North Main Street, 1 year, term expires 2019. Jeffrey Bratberg, 70 Tyler Street, Attleboro, term 1 year, expires 2019. Catherine Feist, 159 Park Street, Apartment 2, Attleboro, 1 year. Term expires 2019. Susan French, 1195 Oak Hill Ave, Attleboro, term is 2 year to expire 2020. Susan Harvey, 293 Pike Ave, Attleboro, 2-year term to expire 2020. Lauren Hero Cameron, 23 Aldry Lane, Attleboro, 2 years, 2020 to expire. Christopher Semple, 95 Wamsetta Road, Attleboro, 3-year term to expire 2021. Eileen Struminski, 7 Sheffield Road, Attleboro, 3 years term to expire 2021. And Ron Struminski, 7 Sheffield Road, Attleboro, 3-year term to expire 2021.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. So thank you again, everyone, for speaking. Any other comments? So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Really appreciate it.
I don't know why I think I know it.
Oh, you.
Should I do?
No, you can keep going.
What do you mean? Should I say?
That can be the third.
Should I do a recess?
8 years.
No. I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $1,751.88 from account 112410000578300 citywide reserve for transfer to account 1541100051100 council on aging salary for funding for temporary increase of current hours of program assistant from 19 per week to 25 per week on the council on aging.
Second.
Thank you. So this is just to talk about it on the full council. It's basically a request of a small increase to because they're needing assistance, a little bit more assistance. Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. I entertain a motion to confirm the appointment of Ann Daly, 59 Linden Street, 302 Taunton, Massachusetts, to fill an unexpired term of constable, term to expire February 2019. So he is allowed to do this. There was some question because he's in Taunton, Massachusetts, but because it's constable, it is appropriate. Any other questions about that? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And lastly, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $16,796.16 from account 112410005783000 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1610100515075 library earned time regarding the need for funds to cover the retired buyout of vacation and sick time of library director Joan Pinkling Smythe, I believe, upon her retirement on May 11, 2018.
Second.
Thank you. So she actually has been with the city for quite some time, and we will be recognizing her at a future date, but she was actually hired May 18, 1984. So I was 5 years old when she was. So she's been with the city for a really long time, and this is just something that will happen. Any questions about that? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Motion to adjourn the meeting? All those in favor? Aye. Motion to adjourn. 55. Thank you.
Meeting of the Municipal Council will now come to order. Please stand and join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I entertain a motion to approve the records of February 15th.
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of February 20th, 2018.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Mr. Clerk, would you read the notice of the joint public hearing, please?
Yes, it's a joint public hearing relative to amending Section 17-10.15 Registered Marijuana Dispensary Uses, subsection B, 2D, and subsection D1A, D1F.
Thank you. Planning board members, thank you for joining us. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Mr. Ration.
Good evening, Council President, members of the Municipal Council, Planning Board Chairman, and members of the Planning Board. For the record, my name is Gary Arajian. I'm the city's Director of Planning and Development, and I'm here tonight to speak in favor of the proposed amendments to Section 17-10.15. These amendments, the genesis comes from a couple of committee meetings that we had with Councilor Kobus' Zoning and Land Use Committee back in January. The first one is about as straightforward as they come. The existing provisions of Section 17-B2D is completely incongruent with another section of the zoning ordinance, Section G3C. Let me explain that. In Section B2D, it states that a copy of the registered marijuana dispensary certificate of registration has to be submitted to the city as part of the special permit application. Well, when you read later on in the ordinance on the Section G3C, it says that the recipient of the special permit shall obtain an RMD registration and compliance certificate from the Department of Public Health, so forth and so on. Well, one says you need to submit it with the special permit application. The other section says, well, after you get your special permit application, you have to get your certificate. So, of course, which is incorrect? So we did the research, the city solicitor, we spoke with him, and we found out that the first one is incorrect, which is Section B2D. So the recommendation is to respectfully ask the council ultimately to strike that, to drop letter D, again, a copy of the registered marijuana dispensary certificate of registration, drop that, and then re-alphabetize the balance of the sections from whatever they are. Just re-alphabetize them. Okay? All right. If you all know that. We get it. All right. So that's the easy one, of course, right? Not that the second one's complicated, but it gave me, Stephanie, and Bill a lot of agita when we were actually applying the special permit ordinance when BCWC Inc. filed its special permit application. And I'd like to draw your attention to Section D1A through D1F. It talks about the standards, or the distances, if you may, of a possible or potential registered marijuana dispensary from other, here we go, yeah, D1A through D1F. And under D1, there are about 6 different standards from which one has to measure the location of a potential registered marijuana dispensary from other, and I want to say uses or lots. And that's wherein lies the problem came up. For a lot of people, it seemed like it was very clear that it's lot to lot. The lot line of the RMD, to the lot line of, for example, a residential district, a schoolyard, a school, home daycare, a public park where children commonly congregate, but not me. I interpreted it differently. I interpreted it as from building to lot line, or even building to building. And I was challenged on that. In fact, Stephanie and I debated, Bill and I debated, Bill and Stephanie agreed, I disagreed. We went up and down the tree a few times, and then ultimately we asked the city solicitor for an opinion. And she said, I don't have it with me and I'll be happy to get it to you, she said, I think it's lot line to lot line, but I could definitely see the way Gary's interpreting this. So ultimately, the city council voted the special permit. I know there was quite a bit of discussion going back and forth. BCWC ultimately is coming in for some relief from the zoning board, but nonetheless, we knew that mechanically there was some incongruence in the ordinance, the way it was written, and it shouldn't be left to that kind of interpretation where you've got department heads not being on the same page. Let's just pick a position and go with it. So I met with Councilor Kobus' committee. We met here with several committee members. We came up with some draft language. I then went back and met with the senior land use plan and the building inspector. We modified it a few times and I sent it back. And we have what we think simplified the adjustment, if you may. And let me go over those with you. So we're recommending that you delete under section D, you just delete number 1 altogether. And we would then break number 1 into 2 different components. There's going to be subsection D1 and subsection D2. And let me go over those subsections with you. So the first one says, no portion of any building containing a registered marijuana dispensary use shall be located within 500 feet of any residential zoning district. So you're going to say, well, Gary, just a few minutes ago, you were talking about lot line to lot line, use to use, so why are we talking district? There's a very specific reason why on number 1, we're calling out a residential zoning district. And it's interesting because sometimes you have to have the experience and apply the ordinance in order to understand the implications. Some of these things we would have never picked up if we didn't exercise it. Through the exercise, we found some of the bugs. Well, one of the bugs is, unless you use an actual case study here, is the application of BCWC, which was on Extension Street. They abutted residential zone, but no houses there. It was a residential zoning district. So even though we at the committee and we at the staff level talked about the distances between land uses because it's easier, we said, well, geez, in this case, there is no land use there. It's zone residential, but there are non-residential uses on the property. In this case, it's a golf course, non-residential, but it's zone residential. So then we started thinking, well, there are other examples. It could be a farm. It could be a handful of other uses in our zoning ordinance that are allowed in the residential zoning district, whether by right or by special permit, that aren't residential. And to avoid the whole argument of which came first, the RMD or the house, in that case, one has to back into the other, we said let's adopt one provision, notwithstanding the use of the district, that if it's vacant or a non-residential use, the fact of the matter is, at some point, potentially, a residential use could be established, even though it's a park right now or a golf course. Let's set the distance between the use and the zoning district. To try to incorporate that all into number 1 and number 2 would be complicated, so we just teased it out. So the first one simply says, the implication is that the land use in the zoning district that's residential is not a residential use. It's either vacant or some other use. So we're advocating that an RMD, that the building, the closest point of a building, can't be within 500 feet of a residential zoning district.
Define district.
As shown on the zoning map. So we have a zoning map, and it's all broken up into about 15 different categories. About half a dozen SR single residence zones and 3 general residence zones. So this would apply to those zoning districts.
But is it the border of the property, or is it?
I'm sorry?
Is it the border of the property?
The zoning district. It says, no portion of any building containing an RMD shall be located within 500 feet of any residential zoning district. So your question is a good question. What if you have a split lot? Is that where you're going with it? It's the zoning district. Because in that district, let's say it's split. You have part of it's industrial, part of it's residential. You can't put a house in the residential zoning district. Even though, let's say you've got a 20,000 square foot lot. Make it simple. You split right down the middle, 10,000 square feet on one side, 10,000 square feet on the other side. Minimum lot area requirement in the portion that's 10,000, because you have 10,000 square feet, is 20. You could use passively the square footage in the industrial zone to build a house, but the entire house has to be in the residential zoning district. Okay? So you could use the square footage, you could use the lot, all that you could use for the lot, even though a portion of it's in a different zoning district. But the structure, the walkway, the pool, the shed, any of these accessory uses, including the principal use, all has to be in the SR zoning district. So that's why we specifically called out the zone line, not the property line. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Now, when we get into subsection 2, let me first read it, set the stage, and then we'll get into the forensics. No portion of any building containing a registered marijuana dispensary shall be located within the following designated areas. We kind of parroted the existing language. The distance between any building containing a registered marijuana dispensary use and the uses cited below is established as follows. And I want to emphasize, now we're talking strictly land use, and that was the issue that I thought would make things easier for us. Said distance shall be measured in a straight line without regard for intervening structures or natural features from the closest point. That's another term we added. That wasn't in the previous language. From the closest point of any registered marijuana dispensary building in which a registered marijuana dispensary is located or to be located to the nearest point of a lot line containing the following use. Reason why we said the closest building, because these are allowed in the industrial zoning district. You can have more than one principal building on a lot. You can have more than one principal use that's industrial on the lot. So whichever one of those buildings that might be associated with an RMD, regardless of which one it is, the one with the closest building, that point to the would be is your reference point, if you may. So we said now it would be 500 feet from a principal residential use, 500 feet from a private or public school, 500 feet from a registered daycare center, family daycare home, and group daycare home, and 500 feet from any public park, recreational area, or facility in which children commonly congregate. If you notice, each one of those four have one common theme: children and young adults. Okay, so why is that important? If you notice from the current language, there are two provisions that I wouldn't say the committee cut, but I was in support of it, so I'm not going to say, well, they did it, we did it together. Two of the provisions we cut out, let me read those. One is under the current ordinance, D1C. There was a preclusion that an RMD could not be within 1,000 feet of an adult entertainment use. And the other was that an RMD could not be within 1,000 feet of another RMD. Well, those are like getting similar, exact same uses, but putting the south pole and the north pole of two uses, and they're going to repel each other. Well, why? If we put them in the industrial zone, why do they have to be 1,000 feet apart? If it's good for one, why can't it be good for another? So I'm not going to say there wasn't any logic at the time we adopted this 4 years ago, or when it was. You know, we had to get an ordinance in place, and we thought at that time that that was a good idea. But I think, if you may, with due respect, in retrospect, probably said, well, I'm not sure why that's actually there. We felt comfortable to say you can actually have two separate RMDs, two separate lots, two different companies, right next to one another in the industrial zone. And if you can find any issue with that, well, let's debate it, but at least that's what's on the floor right now. The other one, like I said, is there's a currently a requirement that there's a 1,000-foot separation of an RMD with any adult entertainment use. For a variety of reasons, we debated the merits of that, couldn't quite understand why. Again, there was probably good points at the time. Nevertheless, it did not, at least we think, withstand the test of time, and we thought it appropriate to drop that as well. So we dropped those two, and what we also thought is that since the common theme is children, and whether or not you're in a house, a school, a daycare center, and a public park, why have varying distances? Why is 300 feet better than 100 in one instance? Why is 500 better than 300? Fact of the matter is that the common thread are children, the common thread is medical marijuana, so why not have a consistent distance? And hence, that was the derivation of the 500 feet. And that concludes my presentation.
Any questions from the council for Mr. Rajan? Any from the planning board? No. Gary?
Have you done a study and looked at all to see how many properties might qualify for this, or especially with the 500-foot distance from anything zoned residential?
No.
Okay.
Would you like me to? I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, could we ask for that and get the information back at a later time?
I think if we look back in the record, Gary, I think you did that exercise when we did this way back when we approved this.
Yeah, I'll dig it up if I can find them. Sure. Okay.
The city's certainly not at a lack of applications for RMDs at this point. So, but I think it's worth looking at.
And plus, understand, of course, one could always rezone property if it doesn't. So we could come up, for the sake of discussion, if we were to come up with 24 locations, just a very cursory review, whether we do it or not, one can just simply rezone property, and that you just add another one to the list. But yeah, I'll look up what we did last time, and I'll also do another study just to quickly do to apply these standards to see, if you want, again, how many sites we could identify as potential sites.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council or from the planning board? Thank you, Gary.
All right, thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
Excellent.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor?
Good evening, Bill McDonough, Building Commissioner. How's everybody? I think Gary pretty much summed it up. I don't know really how much I can add, but I do kind of want to stress a little bit a part that he didn't really talk that much about. Some of the issues that we came up with, one of the big ones with us was obviously the measuring from the building, from the lot, this and that. So with that in mind, when we changed the wording to make it to go from the actual building itself to your issue there about how is this going to be more available? It certainly isn't going to be less. It would make it available more to more properties, because think about the parcel of land that has a large lot of land and has a building sitting in the middle of it, but it abuts residential land thousands of feet away. Before, that didn't fit, not in my eyes anyways. Now that would fit without going to the board for these type of things. So in that matter, it's definitely, for me, it's a clarification for sure on this. Before, when we did have debates on it, wasn't for any opinion or anything. It was just I do what I read, and that's how I enforce, and that's the way I read it. So this clarifies it for us, certainly, and I am definitely in favor of the wording of the revisions on this.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. McDonough from the council or the planning board? Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board. Jack Jacoby, 144 Bank Street. I represent the Leonard J. Irving Center, the principals of which are sitting right there in the front row. You may know them, or there's some of them, as the people who have the Attleboro Indoor Organic Farm, Two Friends Farm on West Street. They grow vegetables there, and they are proposing to grow some different kind of vegetables in the industrial park. I am in favor of this, and my clients are, I want to compliment Gary and Stephanie and Bill on the work that they did in getting this together. But there is one issue I'd like to raise with you and ask you to make a change in. And it was sort of raised by Councilor Kovas's question. Gary told you that your current ordinance says that you can't have 2 dispensaries within 1,000 feet of one another. You approved the building at 34 Extension Road already for a special permit. My clients have purchased the building right up the street at 70 Frank Mossberg Drive, which is on the corner of Extension. So we went to the zoning board to get a variance to allow 2 within a couple hundred feet of one another, and the board was kind enough to grant that to us. This would eliminate that variance, which is good. But there is one issue that remains, and if you look at what would be D1 now, if I understand the numbering correctly, where it says no portion of any building containing a registered marijuana dispensary use shall be located within 500 feet of any residential zoning district. Well, the golf course is zoned residential. And so I believe you probably would make the Bristol Wellness Center a non-conforming use. You definitely would prohibit my client from applying to you for the registered marijuana dispensary, which they've been working very hard to get their application through. They've been invited, I think as of today, to stage 3 of that process. And they have made a substantial investment in the building at 70 Frank Mossberg Drive. So I would urge you, while you take this up, to look at that section, and I would suggest that rather than 500 feet, 100 feet would be appropriate. It would allow us to apply to you for a special permit, and I don't know that it needs to be the same as the 500 feet from the other things that are down in section D2, talking about, you know, children and an actual residential use. My request to you is to amend this to 100 from 500 in that particular section. But other than that, we are pleased that you're making this progress. And I know that Council Services Committee is working hard on a draft to take into account the coming changes here in the state. And when the Cannabis Control Commission takes effect around July 1st. And then, as I further understand it, the Department of Public Health, which covers the registered marijuana dispensaries, and the Cannabis Control Commission are going to merge their function as of the 1st of 2019. So the state is still working their way through this. And I suspect that we here in Attleboro are still working our way through this. And so I would simply ask you to keep in mind the fact that my client has a building in the industrial park, which we think is entirely appropriate for this, and we'd like not to be precluded from applying to you.
Do you have any questions for Attorney Jacoby from the council or from the planning board? Sina, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor?
My name is Francis Balut, and I live at 120 Carrier Avenue in South Attleboro. It may surprise you that I'm up here in favor of medical marijuana. I'll tell you why. I was at the summit, the marijuana summit. That was up in Boston. And if you all recall, that's the day that had the strongest winds and the heaviest rains. And to get there, well, I took a taxi, first of all, from the train. But in getting there, the winds were so strong that it would blow my umbrella upside down. And it would be inside out. And it's more like you see these weathermen who's standing along the coast, the water coming in. So then I'd turn around this way, so it would put my umbrella back in normal position. I had to do that a couple of ways, and of course it was just a shuffling like this with the force of the wind. But getting inside, what I learned was this: this educational summit. It's actually like a news bureau. And from the main street, it's this wide, I'll call it an alleyway. And right in front is number 10. And that is the location of where they have various events. And this particular day, of course, it was on marijuana, and it was broken down in 2 panels of 5. And one was essentially promoting marijuana, and the second panel was all about the what they need to go through, where marijuana itself is illegal. And the reason I'm speaking of that is because in today's amending section here, it says registered marijuana dispensary uses. Most people don't realize there's like 400 different strains of marijuana. And they have all these 3-lettered initials representing a lot of the different strains of marijuana. And I'm here to hopefully pass along my information to share it with you and the public that may be watching on TV. So if I can continue, I would just like to read a couple of those areas.
So, Francis. Mr. Ballou, before you go too deep in your exciting summit that you attended in the wind and rain, I want to make sure that the testimony you're providing is relative to the amendments that we are sitting here tonight to hear about. If not, we're happy to accept the information that you have to the Zoning and Land Use Committee. You can give that to Councilor Kovas.
No, it does relate because, as I say, it's within title of this evening's
public hearing
amendment. The reason why we're here, and it has the word marijuana in it.
Does it talk about?
Well, it's just a very broad term. So if I could just read a couple of the definitions, and this here can be very short. It says that the initials C as in Charlie, B as in Bob, D as in David, is short for cannabinoid, and the miraculous compound resides in a plant known to researchers as cannabis, marijuana. And that there have been many studies as to how to obtain the benefits of the natural medicine. As an example, CBD, Charlie Baker David, is not about getting high. In fact, the CBD is found most plentiful in special strains of cannabis that do not contain much what they call THC. Thomas, Howard, Charlie. And I look at it, any 3 letters that starts with a T means trouble. That's what get a person high. And just to go through.
Francis, again.
One other page.
I'm going to interrupt you again to tell you that you need to present what you found at the summit that's relative to amending section 1 of the ordinance, section 17-10.15, or amending the ordinance, section 17-10.5, subsections D1A to D1F, or testimony relative to deleting subsection B2D. So going into the benefits of different classifications, or T rhymes with P rhymes with pool, like the Music Man, we're not here to do that tonight. That's not the purpose of the public hearing, but I'm happy to accept your testimony or what you found at the summit to the Zoning and Land Use Committee.
Even though this area does refer to medical marijuana?
Yes, that's right. That's not, the purpose of tonight's hearing is not the merits of
It's not talking about distances from residential.
Right, we're talking about the
and all the
distance.
other type of things.
That's what we're talking about tonight, and the necessary paperwork that an applicant must have to submit their application. So,
And I would just like to say that if anybody would like to see it, but I also happen to have what they call a March 5 issue of Time magazine. Many, many stories in there, like the first gentleman that was talking tonight about the opioids.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very sad.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here tonight to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Oh.
Evening. I thought there would be someone else speaking in opposition. I thought I'd wait a few minutes. My name is Judy Margulies, Judith Margulies. I lived for probably 29 years in North Attleboro, and I do want to say I don't live in Attleboro, yet I am a registered pharmacist. I followed this topic extensively over the last several years. I also work primarily in the area of drug prevention. And when I use the word child, I mean anyone under the age of 25, because we know that the brain is susceptible to this drug. That's evidence-based proven until the age of 25. So when I use the word child, I mean anyone to that extent. So I understand that this is zoning, so I'm going to try to keep my comments relative to that. And I do apologize, I have not actually read the numbers. Being part of a municipality myself, I'm very familiar with those kinds of things. But I did want to just make a few comments that one can mince words as to the distance to where a residence may be where there's a child, or a property where there's a child, but the real intent is to protect our children. And when I say our children, I mean our children, because we are, it doesn't matter, you know, it's a community, everyone's child is everyone else's child. We have to protect the children. And I would encourage you on every single word to keep that in mind, because I have also attended 3 of the last 5 CCC, the Cannabis Control Commission meetings this last month. I'm very up to date on what they've been talking about, what they've been deciding. I did give public testimony when the legislature took ballot question 4 and rewrote it. So I don't come at this with a casual perspective, I want to say. And also, I want you to know that even though Attleboro has not been my home, I can tell you many things, the reasons why I connect with Attleboro. Everything from every Christmas Eve with my children when they were small, we walked around La Salette. From my home in North Attleboro, we watched Hayward Field fireworks, you know, between the Y, the Art Museum, all of those things are part of my history. So I do care about this community, although I'm a Metro West transplant right now and I sold my home. One of the things to keep in mind is that RMDs, for the most part, are going to switch to non-medical. The medical initiatives, I'm sure you probably all know that if they were approved prior to July 1st of 2017, those are giving priority to automatically switch to non-medical facilities. And when you look at the projections, I assume that you've probably all looked at what the years out, what the projections are in terms of the financial projections. When you look at those projections, they go way beyond the population of Attleboro or even this part of southeast Massachusetts. I mean, it's very clear that based upon the amounts of money that is anticipated being made, that this
Point of order. This is not having anything to do with
zoning.
Yeah. So again, Judy, It's really about, this public hearing is about deleting a subsection to make it consistent within the ordinance and the distances within the current, clarifying the distances within the ordinance.
So that would go back to the child thing. So to keep in mind that when you're talking about distances, you're talking about where that's going to be to the children of the community. And we know from a prevention perspective that this is about partly addiction of those children, because we know based upon other things that the high concentrations.
Excuse me 1 second, Council Hall.
Yes, again, point of order, because we're getting away from the zoning issue again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has to state.
Judy, I think you made your point about considering the distance to the public or private school or the registered daycare center, family home daycare, or group daycare home in any public park, recreational area or facility in which children commonly congregate. That's really what this public hearing is about, but keep watching, because in a couple of weeks there'll be another one where I think what you're talking about tonight would be more appropriate.
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate that suggestion. I believe that this connects, so I'm just going to say one last thing before I sit down. That the perception of harm is one of those items that when the perception of harm goes down by your youth, and that is why to keep it further away from children, from anyone under the age of 25 basically, but obviously it's adults or 21. That is that perception. When we know when the perception decreases of harm, that the use increases by youth. So I appreciate your time, and I will follow up and keep watching.
Great,
Thank you so much.
Can I get a name and address?
Full name and address?
Hold on 1 second. Judy, would you state your full name and address again for the record? Council,
Do you want me to spell it, or? So it's Judith Margulies. It's Margulies.
Yep.
And I live in Ashland, Massachusetts.
And where, I'm sorry?
Ashland?
Yep.
Thank you.
And I think there's a question for you, Judy, if you might.
Oh, okay.
Councilor Conti.
Judy, I think my question will help you focus on our issue. You've paid attention to what's going on in the cannabinoid hearings and commission and regulations. You know that the buildings that are going to contain marijuana production are highly secure. They're going to be equivalent of even more secure than silver manufacturers. If a building is that secure, why is it important to have any distance between that building and children? If no one can get in and out of that building without proper documentation, identification, and nothing inside that building leaves that building except in the possession of the people who are buying things. I don't think I understand why we need to have 500 feet between a very high secure building and residential use or a private school or a public school.
Hold on 1 second, if you may, because Councilor Blair had a point of order.
I just want to state what a public hearing is about. It's, if something's said that you don't understand, ask a question to clarify. We shouldn't be leading this person at the podium, or we shouldn't be talking and giving advice to the person at the podium. This is a public hearing, is to take input. And I think that's what this should be, control that, input.
So if I may, I think Councilor Conti was, in a roundabout way, asking a clarifying question of the testimony, in that why does she feel we need to have any distance to the...
That was my question, if I'm allowed to ask the question. It's, Judy, if the building is so secure...
Do you want me to try to answer it?
Yes.
Because first I'm going to suggest that would be all those prevention things that obviously I will need to come back to discuss. As a pharmacist, I'm very familiar with secure buildings. But to ask your question a little bit clarification, Ben, you said grow and production. That's actually different than the actual sales. So are you discussing, are you questioning the actual facilities where it will be grown and dried and packaged for then transport to a final sale location? So you're really talking about the growing.
Correct. That was my focus, is that, you know, I don't understand why a distance plays a role in growing marijuana in a highly secure building. Because no one can see what's going on, no one can smell what's going on, no one really knows what's going on.
Well, I don't want to get into the prevention things and the perception piece. Yet I would probably recommend that you look up Pueblo, Colorado. It's a city in Colorado, Pueblo, I believe it is. Actually, when you look up Code Red, there's a lot of physicians there that speak to things, but there's also videos on YouTube that actually talk about the farmers and the presence of the facilities, the grow facilities in terms of light, because they have you know, high water usage, high light usage, and what that means in terms of the 24-hour exposure to those properties.
So I'm going to declare the question out of order and again invite Judy back when
I'm good.
That time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Did I do that?
Neither for nor against.
Is there anyone else to speak neither for nor against? Anyone else to speak neither for nor against? Hearing none, Mr. Chairman, would you like to declare this public hearing closed? Yeah. And
yes.
Thank you. So I am going to declare this public hearing closed, and the planning board is going to go back into the annex room. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you.
I got it.
Thank you.
Why don't you guys keep down in that, right? I got that much more.
Enjoy your meeting. Usually is.
I did, thank you.
Wait a second.
All right. And we are going to go right on to the reading of the mayor's communication.
March 20th, 2018. Dear Municipal Councilors, on March 6, 2018, your honorable body voted to appropriate funds for the Winter Storm Riley expenses. Although all departments did their best to get the request to my office, it has come to my attention that additional funds are needed by the Department of Public Works. A 15% contingency has been added to the Pike Avenue culvert repairs, along with a modest increase to remaining accounts. A request will be sent to return any unused funds to the stabilization fund prior to the end of fiscal year 18 for this request and the previous request on March 6, 2018. As a result, I hereby request your honorable body to appropriate $46,859.32 from Fund Stabilization Fund other financing uses to account General Fund other financing sources to fund the following accounts. Emergency management overtime, $7,652.32. $2,200 has already been appropriated. Emergency management street maintenance supplies, $2,200. Emergency management safety sign supplies, $5,557. Emergency management street repairs, $16,500. And emergency management Pike Avenue culvert, $14,950.
Thank you. Before I assign that to committee, I'm going to assign it to Public Works. But Councilor Jackson, would you get more detail on the Pike Ave culvert? I might be confused crossing my wires, but I'm seeing a different culvert than I've seen over the past couple of weeks. So I'm going to refer that to Public Works Committee. Thank you.
Okay. Additionally, on March 6, 2018, your honorable body voted to appropriate funds to provide funding necessary to staff the additional fire engine for 1 week at the Rehoboth Fire Station due to the road closure on Wilmot Street. Because of unanticipated delays with repairs to the culvert, the road has remained closed for an additional 8 days. In order to maintain the staffing for the additional fire engine, the additional overtime costs have been paid from the fire department overtime account. In order to effectively document the additional cost, a transfer of funds is needed. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to transfer $26,000 from account fire overtime to account emergency management fire overtime. Copies in your packets.
Thank you. Sign that. Refer to public safety and emergency management, please. But again, I want to make a public announcement that the Wilmot Street is open. Was posted. Oh, you can. I'll save it for you then. Rewind.
Okay.
Next.
I respectfully submit a communication from Acting Superintendent of Water, Courtney Wunschel, regarding the need for funds to purchase materials for the remaining raw water pump rehabilitation and for purchases related to the maintenance of the treatment plants for the remainder of the fiscal year. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $20,000 from account Water Enterprise Fund, Reserve Fund for transfer, to account Water Enterprise Fund, Treatment Plant Supplies. Copies in your packets.
Public Works, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Wastewater Paul Kennedy regarding the need for funds to repair a filter press feed pumps. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $15,000 from account Wastewater Enterprise Fund, Reserve Fund for transfer, to account Wastewater Enterprise Fund, Equipment Maintenance. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
Okay, I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the following reappointments to positions and for the terms indicated. Narvi Castellorios, Attleboro Housing Authority, term 5 years, expires February 2023. Catherine Merkel, Personnel Board, 3 years, February 2021. Kira Davis, Youth Commission, 2 years, February 2020. Alexandra Sawyer, Youth Commission, 2 years, February 2020. Ryan Delisio, Youth Commission, 2 years, February 2020. Sarah Ribeiro, 2 years, February 2020. Oh, Youth Commission, I'm sorry. Donovan Riley, Youth Commission, 2 years, February 2020. Kent Richards, Zoning Board of Appeals, 3 years, February 2021. Sandra Verrier, Zoning Board of Appeals, Associate, 2 years, February 2020. Mahesh Patel, Board of Library Trustees, 3 years, February 2021. Linda Binns, Board of Library Trustees, 3 years, February 2021. Eileen Straminsky, Board of Library Trustees, 3 years, February 2021. Paul Denacey, Planning Board, 5 years, February 2023. Brenda Haskell, Traffic Study Commission, 3 years, February 2021. Gregory Ilkowitz, Traffic Study Commission, 3 years, February 2021. Ben Kudo, Cultural Council, 2 years, February 2020. Christian Mailhot, Cultural Council, 3 years, February 2021. And Diane Keenan, Cultural Council, 3 years, February 2021.
Thank you. Personnel and Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Duff White, 12 Carnegie Way, to fill an expired term on the Board of Police Commissioners. Term to expire February 2021. Copies in your packets.
Personnel and Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of the following candidates to serve in the Council on Human Rights. Copies in your packets. And they are Barbara Clark of 24th Street, Attleboro, a term of 3 years expiring in February 2021. Seth Hodge, 22 Tappan Avenue, Attleboro, 3 years, February 2021. Jacqueline Jedlicka, 8 East 4th Street, Attleboro, 3 years, February 2021. And Dahlia La Rotunda, 151 Alvin Street, Attleboro, 2 years, February 2020. And Lori Sawyer, 136 Curtis Avenue, Attleboro, 1 year, February 2019.
Personnel and Human Services, please.
For your information, the following reappointments have been made to positions for which confirmation is not required and for the terms as indicated. Marianne Wrightington, Historical Commission, 3 years, February 2021. Evelyn Silva, Historical Commission, 3 years, February 2021. Brian Simmons, Historical Commission, 3 years, February 2021. And Jeremiah Raposa, Historical Commission, Alternate, 2 years, February 2020. I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Lee Gazel, 104 Oak Hill Avenue, to fill an unexpired term on the Park Commission. Term to expire February 2023. Copies in your packets.
Personnel and Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of the following candidates to serve on the Cultural Council. Copies in your package. They are Carol Nicholson, 84 Sentinel Hill Road, Attleboro, 3 years, expires February 2021. Marguerite Keeper, 4 Hatch Road, Attleboro, 3 years, February 2021. James Azevedo, 41 North Avenue, apartment 222, Attleboro, 3 years, February 2021. Darrell Velez, 94 Tyler Street, Attleboro, 1 year, February 2019. And Rosa Lopes, 15 Joanna Drive, Attleboro, 1 year, February 2019.
Personal and Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding road and maintenance machines that the Department of Public Works would like to declare surplus, and hereby respectfully request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus for trade-in or resale value and available for disposition. Copies in your packets. There's a 2001 Elgin Pelican sweeper with 4,764 hours on it in poor condition, and a 1998 Mustang 2050 skid steer with 3,806 hours on it in poor condition.
City Property and Claims, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding equipment that the Water Department would like to declare surplus, and hereby respectfully request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your packets. There are 3 Halmar Robicon 7.5 horsepower VFD, model number PWM 454352.00, in obsolete condition.
City Property and Claims, please.
And finally, I respectfully submit a communication from Planning and Development Director Gary Arazian, and hereby request your honorable body to hold a public hearing on April 17th, 2018, relative to the administration's proposed Program 2018 Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Budget for the CDBG entitlement year, July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019, the proposed program year 2018 annual action plan, and to request the mayor on behalf of the city of Attleboro be authorized to submit to the Department of Housing and Urban Development the proposed CDBG budget and proposed activities to be undertaken during the upcoming CDBG entitlement year. Upon approval, Mr. Arazian will submit the Community Development Block Grant Budget to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development on or before May 15th, 2018. Copies in your packet.
Capital Improvements and City Development, please.
Sincerely, Paul Peru, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other communications?
There are indeed, if there's a few. First one is a communication dated March 13th. It's an U.S. Army Corps of Engineers article with a remedial action program update for contaminated sites.
Thank you. Copy to all councilors.
We've also have a communication dated March 12, 2018 from City Solicitor Lauren Galvin sending a copy of the publication going to registered voters' homes with ballot question explanation.
Ordinances, elections, and legislative matters, please.
And we also have a communication dated March 19, 2018 from resident David Dowman suggesting cameras at intersections to address pedestrian safety.
Refer to the administration and a copy to all councilors.
And that is all, Mr. President.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to go into committee of the whole.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council on any city business? I'm entertaining a motion to arise.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Going on to committee reports, and starting with Councilor Blair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting Public Safety and Emergency Management from the docket of March 20th, 2018. I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $9,625 from account 1124100-578300 citywide reserve fund transfer to account 1210100-524011 police maintenance of buildings regarding the need for funds to replace the elevator door operators.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Blair.
This is a necessary repair on an elevator if we're going to use that building in accordance with regulations regarding handicap accessibility, getting prisoners up and down in a safe manner and whatnot. And the chief said that it's a necessary repair.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote. The vote will begin with Council Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Kovas.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes. I'm sorry. Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
I have no other business this evening, but I'd like to take this opportunity to remind the people at home, my fellow councilors, that the Emmett Larkin Memorial Fund is this Saturday night. Corned beef, cabbage, and I believe there's a side meal for those that don't like corned beef. But it's a great time for a great cause, and I hope to see a lot of people from home. It's not too late to get tickets. Call the Recreation Department, ask for Dennis Walsh, and I'm sure he would hand deliver them. So look forward to seeing you there. It's a great evening. Call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Council Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting for the Public Works Committee from the docket of March 20th, 2018. I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $15,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund Reserve Fund for Transfer account to the Water Enterprise Fund Activated Carbon Replacement account.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Council Jackson.
We discussed this last week in committee, and we do have these carbons that when we replace them, we send one out to be stored, and this one in particular could not be recharged or recycled and refilled with some new carbon, so we have to purchase a new one. It was unforeseen.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote. The vote will begin with Council Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Kovas.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of March 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $403 from the Water Enterprise Fund Retained Earnings account to the Water Enterprise Fund Water Main Construction account for funding to pay the performance bond associated with the South Main Street water repairs.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Council Jackson.
I have nothing else to add to this. It's for the performance bond on South Main Street.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this will require a roll call vote. The roll call vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Kovas.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have no further business for Public Works Committee, but I just would like to give a big shout out because you stole my thunder. I was so excited today. At 2 o'clock officially, Wilmar Street opened up. The culvert is fixed. However, they still have a couple of steel plates in the road because the gravel that was delivered is very, very wet still, and they have to wait to see how things settle. But I do want to give a big shout out to the DPW crew and also to Jeff Fisk. His company is the one who came out and actually fixed the culvert. And it's been trying times because the water has been flowing very, very high down there. So we're very fortunate they were able to complete that today. And also, with this upcoming storm that we might be getting tomorrow, which I hope they're wrong for once again, I just ask that the public have a lot of patience because there was a lot of issues that went on with this last storm. And I mean, we're all anxious for spring. We're all happy to know that spring is here. However, it's really not. Mother Nature's testing us. And I would just ask the public to have patience with our highway crew, our plowers, our police details. Don't get too angry at them. They're doing the best that they can, and they'll get to all the issues. The trees right now are really hurting because of the heavy, heavy snow, the wind, the rain, and they try to get over to, excuse me, as many trees that have fallen over, and at least getting them out of the way to clear them so the roads are passable. But it does take them a while to get back to your neighborhoods to pick up whatever it is if they were, you know, on city property. So I do ask for your patience, please. With that, I would like to call for a committee meeting at the appropriate time next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting for the Capital Improvements and City Development Committee, we have completed tours of the Recreation Department on March 10th, and last Saturday, March 17th, we completed a tour and interview at the library and the police station. This is coming Saturday, March 24th at 9 o'clock will be at the Sanford Street parking garage, followed by a 10 o'clock tour of the Academy building, is what I think I have. And I will double check that. So the committee has gotten a list from the places we visited, plus the schools. And I've digitized that and I've circulated it to you, Mr. President, and the committee. And I'm hoping to do that for the remaining tours that we make. The mayor tells me we may have a capital improvement plan book on April 1st, but I will not complete our visitations until April the 14th. So that'll give us plenty of time to absorb the book and to schedule a public hearing perhaps for April 23rd. And we'll set that as we get closer. All right, and that completes the news from Capital Improvement and City Development. We look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Great, thank you. Council Kobus.
Reporting for zoning and land use, I do not have any business tonight, and I request a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Perfect. Council Parika.
Thank you, President Cooper. Reporting for traffic and transportation this evening. I don't have any business this evening. However, I just wanted to make a quick little announcement. This weekend is the flower show at the Attleboro Art Museum. As Ms. Jackson was saying, we could all use a little bit of spring, and it's chock full of spring over there. The kickoff was supposed to be tomorrow evening, but due to the supposed storm that we all hope we don't get, they did postpone it until Thursday. But they are open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Go in, look at some beautiful flowers, buy some art, and go and support. It's a great little event for your family on a weekend where everyone's probably going to be cooped up yet again. And that concludes my business, and call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Delesio.
Thank you very much. Reporting for budget and appropriations from the docket of March 20th, 2018. I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $5,367.80 from account Veterans Aid to account Veterans Replacement of Flags to purchase U.S. flags, brackets, poles, and other hardware that were damaged during the windstorm on October 29th and 30th, 2017.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Delesio.
Thank you. We discussed this pretty much in depth last week. That's just to replace, well, just as it says, replace U.S. flags, brackets, and poles that were damaged during our windstorm in October last year.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote. The roll call vote will begin with Councilor Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delesio.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of March 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $1,214,257 and any future grant amendments into Fund 3108 Chapter 90 projects for the purpose of funding Chapter 90 eligible projects as approved by the Massachusetts Department of Transportation.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Delesio.
No, this is really one of the first steps integral steps in the budget process every year. This is so we get the money from MassDOT so we can then begin some of our Chapter 90 projects.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Delesio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of October 4th, 2016, I move to strike the following, that this municipal council create a city policy stating that water and wastewater departments, water and wastewater enterprise accounts will not charge the city of Attleboro school system for systems provided, services provided, and/or that this municipal council make a temporary policy change to not charge the Attleboro School Department for water and wastewater usage costs in 2017, with the possibility of doing so again in 2018 if the water and wastewater enterprise account show retained earnings.
Second.
Motion is in order. Councilor Delesio.
Thank you very much. just cleaning things up. This is one of those that can always be brought back in, just looking at the dates of 2017, as well as we're currently in 2018, but just trying to tie some loose ends up.
Other questions or comments? Councilor Reynolds.
I'm just going to say that I believe I brought that out back some time ago, but I think that we've worked around a lot of things that are happening at the school. I mean, we're now talking about a new school, so I don't think that that's pertinent at this time.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of October 18th, 2005, I move to strike the following, that an ordinance be established requiring that all fees enacted by the city be reviewed on a biannual basis and adjusted as needed.
Second?
Thank you. Motion is in order.
Again, this has been sitting here since 2005. I think there's still some credibility to it, and I would potentially look to Mr. Conti's Committee on Rules and Procedures to maybe take this up at a later date, but it's been sitting there for 13 years without any movement.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Conti.
Fees really aren't covered by the council rules and procedures, but we have been updating the fees steadily as we've gone along. I mean, remember 3 years ago when we reorganized the fire department, we revamped all the fees. So I would concur with the chairman that this is a motion that can be stricken.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. And finally, from the docket of January 4th, 2005, I move to strike the following, that the City of Attleboro create and have ready to implement the beginning of fiscal year 2006 a debt policy.
Second?
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Delisio.
Similar comments as before, 14 years, almost 14 years now, no movement. Seeing that this is looking to start in fiscal year 2006, we're now approaching fiscal year 2019. It's probably appropriate to strike.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Cobus.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, President Cooper, and that concludes the business for budget and appropriations. We'd like to call for a meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Dolan.
Reporting for Licenses Committee, I have one motion this evening. From the docket of March 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request from the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 115 for permission to hold a poppy drive on Saturday, May 19th, 2018, with a rain date of Saturday, May 26th, 2018.
Second?
Thank you. Councilor Dolan.
We talked about this in committee last week. Everybody knows what the poppy drive is, and I'm assuming everybody will support it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
That's all the business I have for Licenses Committee, and I would like to call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Reynolds.
Thank you, President Cooper. Reporting for City Property and Claims Committee, I have 3 motions. From the docket of March 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to declare the following police department items surplus and available for disposition. 6 office chairs, black fake faux leather upholstery. The condition is fair. Shall I read the model number? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Reynolds.
I move to approve the request of the...
Any question? Any comment?
No, I have no comments. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and I like that they put in the faux leather, because last time it was just faux upholstery, and upholstery is not fake.
Any other questions? Hearing none. This requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. Councilor Reynolds.
I move to approve the request of the mayor to declare the following police department vehicles as surplus for trade-in or resale value and available for disposition. And I'm going to read it over again because Councilor Cobus pointed out last week that one of the numbers was missing, and now it's new, so I'm going to read it out. A 2005 GMC Envoy 1, the VIN number is 1GKET16056205905, and it is in poor condition. It has 100,239 miles on it. And then there is a 2008 Honda Accord, 1HGCP36838A021214, also in poor condition, and 130,345 miles on it.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
I have none, no.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the council? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of March 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to declare the following recreation department vehicle as surplus for trade-in or resale value and available for disposition. It's a 1997 Ford 350, and it has 69,000 plus miles on it. It's in poor condition.
Second.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I think it's pretty
Any
self-explanatory.
from anyone else? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
And that is all the business for city property and claims. I'd like to call a committee meeting at the next appropriate time. Please.
Councilor Holmes.
Reporting for Personnel and Human Services Committee. That was really nice tonight to have that public hearing, and just going to be bringing forward 5 motions, and 2 of them are included in the individuals that came out tonight. So from the docket of March 20th, 2018, I move to approve the appointment of the following candidates to serve in the Council of Disabilities. Angela Ferreira, 94 Parsonage Way, Attleboro. The term is 3 years to expire February 2021. Mary Jane Jensen, 44 Rand Ave, Attleboro, a 3-year term to expire February 2021. Jennifer Davies, 10 Dally Street, Attleboro, 3-year term to expire February 2021. Susan Jensen, 61 Rand Avenue, Attleboro, 2-year term to expire February 2020. Christopher Lorano, 218 Pine Street, Apartment 2, Attleboro. It's a 2-year term to expire February 2020. Kevin Lacoste, 12 Brookwood Road, Attleboro, 1-year term to expire February 2019. And Cynthia Von Boris, 83 Slater Street in Attleboro, term is 1 year, and it will expire February 2019.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a great group of individuals, and they seem to be really excited about this, so looking forward to it. Any other comments?
Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of March 20th, 2018, I move to confirm the following appointments of the following candidates to serve in the Council of Substance Abuse Prevention. John Broder, 149 North Main Street, Attleboro, 1-year term to expire 2019. Jeffrey Bratberg, 70 Tyler Street in Attleboro, 1-year term to expire 2019. Catherine Feist, 159 Park Street, Apartment 2 in Attleboro, it's a 1-year term to expire 2019. Susan French, 1195 Oak Hill Ave, or I guess, 2-year term to expire 2020. Susan Harvey, 293 Pike Avenue, Attleboro, 2-year term to expire 2020. Lauren Hero Cameron, 23 Is it Delray? Attleboro, thank you. Lane, Attleboro, 2-year term to expire 2020. Christopher Seipel, 95 Wamsetta Road, Attleboro, 3 years, term to expire 2021. Eileen Struminski, 7 Sheffield Road, Attleboro, Massachusetts, 3-year term to expire 2021. And Ron Struminski, 7 Sheffield Road, Attleboro, 3-year term to expire 2021.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Another great group, and just really excited to have this going. So.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of March 20th, 2018, I move to confirm the appointment of Ann Daly, 59 Linden Street, apartment 302, Taunton, Massachusetts, to fill an unexpired term as constable. The term will expire February 2019.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Council Holmes.
I don't have any comments.
Okay. Anything else? Councilor Parika.
I believe that Councilor Jackson brought up the question on whether or not a counselor or whether or not an appointment can come from someone who lives outside of the community. I don't know if you have clarification on that.
She did.
She did.
During the committee meeting, I did. Yeah, I know, it was kind of chaotic. So because it's constable, it's okay for that role. And we didn't have any internal candidates from Attleboro, so, and this position also does require sometimes going to the courthouse in Taunton and things of that nature. So it is covered in Massachusetts state law. And we have nothing in our ordinance that specifically says the individual for constable has to live in Attleboro.
Terrific. Thank you.
So,
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this also requires a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. I'm from the docket of March 6, 2018. I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $16,796.16 from account 11241000578 300 citywide transfer fund for reserve fund for transfer to account 1610100515075 library earned time regarding the need for funds to cover the retirement buyout of vacation and sick time for library director Joan Pilkington Smith. Upon her retirement on May 11, 2018.
Second. Sorry, Joan.
So I was saying during my committee meeting, I know it was kind of chaotic. She has been here since May 18th, 1984. She's worked for the city and connected to the library. So that's a significant amount of time, I would say, to be working in the city. So.
Councilor Delicio, then Vice President Parika.
I just want to take this minute to thank Joan for her service to the city. The big read presentations will not be the same. Hopefully she'll still be involved. But I want to thank her for all the help that she's given me throughout my years as a counselor and for all the service to the city of Attleboro. She will be deeply, deeply missed.
Thank you. Vice President Parika.
Thank you, President Cooper. I echo Councilor Delisso's sentiments with regards to Joan. Joan and I, as many know, we've had our ups and downs, and I'm very happy to know that I respect her. She's brilliant. I will also miss her big reads, and she's a terrific woman and a great leader in our community, and she will be terribly missed. So I wish her the best.
Thank you. Any other comments? This requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delisio.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Kobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
On the docket of March 20th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $1,758.88 from account 112410005783000 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1541100051100 council on aging salary for funding a temporary increase to the current hours of the program assistant from 19 per week to 25 hours per week at the Council on Aging.
Second.
Thank you. Just to be clear, Council Holmes, it's $1,751.88.
Oh. Okay, I said it wrong.
I think you did.
Okay.
So motion is in order. Any questions or comments?
This, I actually visited recently, and they're doing a lot over there. This is a small amount in order to get some great services. I was amazed. I'm looking forward to having them come forward when it's budget season. They do tax returns. They do. It kind of blew my mind how much they do over there for the seniors in the community. So I think that it is something that's needed.
Thank you. Yep, Madeline's presentation to the council on the budget is always dynamic and full of facts.
Yeah.
It's great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Cobus.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
That concludes the business for Personnel and Human Services, and I will have a committee meeting at the next appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Hall.
President Cooper, I do not have any motions this evening. However, I would direct everybody's attention to the memo that was received and for the business that we're going to speak about at the next committee meeting, to please read the memo. Mr. Spatcher will be here, but it would help if you read it looks like they put a lot of work into the memo to explain why they were doing what they are doing, and we will have backup information to be able to ask Mr. Spatcher some questions. So on the 27th, he will be here.
Thank you. Any other?
Nope, that concludes my business, and I'm looking for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Perfect. Thank you. There is no old business, new business, and I will first recognize Council Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. From the docket of April 6, 2018, I move to refer the following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation, that in accord with the City of Attleboro, Massachusetts City Charter, Article 3, Section 3-1, which reads, quote, "The mayor shall receive for his services such salary as the municipal council shall by ordinance determine within the first 18 months of the term of office, and is to be effective at the start of the next term of office," close quotes. That effective January 1st, 2020, the salary of the City of Attleboro mayor be set at $100,000 per year, and in addition that the position of mayor shall be removed from the City of Attleboro classification plan as defined in the revised ordinances excuse me, of the City of Attleboro, Chapter 13, Personnel, Section 5.1, Mayor, amended 1/5/11, which is to be deleted. In accord with the City Charter, Article 2, Section 7B, this measure will call for a public hearing, and that a majority of the municipal council shall be required to adopt said ordinance version.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Conti.
Yes, Mr. President, I don't have much to say about this. I was on the council in 2010 when this when the salary change occurred to the City of Attleboro. I'm just making a note that Councilor Parika seconded, and I voted against it because I felt that the mayor's position, like the City Council's position, it should be a fixed position, not on the classification system. We serve. It's an ideological issue. I serve because of my dedication to the city. Certainly, the $7,275.58 a year. If I counted up the number of hours I worked a year, I make more money at McDonald's. I don't take advantage of the health plan, so I don't have the additional benefit there. I do this job because I like it. People tell me I do a good job, and the $7,000 is perfectly acceptable to me. I think that we should find this, that we should ask the same of the mayor. That for years it was at $100,000, and in today's rates, that doesn't seem to be a spectacular number anymore. But we can change that from 100,000 to any other number anytime 18 months after any election. But I don't like having the mayor on the classification plan, and therefore I wrote this new business to make the correction that I think that we should make. And that concludes my comments.
And I want to thank you for putting the clarity that you put around the introduction of the new business, so thank you for that. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So there's 10 yeas, 1 nay. Motion passes, and that will be referred to Personnel and Human Services. Moving on to Councilor Reynolds.
I move to refer the following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation: to erect signs on County Street that indicate a right turn at Commerce Way if you are coming from the Attleboro Center, that suggests it will bring you to the sports complex.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Reynolds, any comments?
Both of these come from a constituent that called that thinks it doesn't make sense that there's nothing there, no signage that tells you you're coming up on the sports complex, that you can even turn onto Commerce Way, that, you know, you don't know that 95, you could go down that way for 95, or you could go straight and get 95 in Pawtucket. So it was because of this constituent that I told her I would bring this forward.
Thank you. Any other questions? Vice President Parika?
Sure. Through the chair to Councilor Reynolds. Was there a conversation, did anyone have a conversation with the sports complex about whether they have any plans on erecting signage or anything like that? Because that wouldn't necessarily fall within our purview. It would be something that perhaps they would have to work through planning if they needed to put a particular sign up or anything like that. So I just didn't know.
Well, I did have a chance to speak with President Cooper, and he agreed. He spoke to me on it, and we agreed that it is probably a state issue. That you know, it will be up to them. But you know, I mean, at least we put it in motion for the constituent. I don't think it that it is in our purview, but we put it up there. Councilor Cooper will decide where it goes from here, and then hopefully, you know, if it is a state issue, we'll get down there as well.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I am going to, this requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. I am going to refer that to Transportation and Traffic, but also to the administration, because as most of you will remember, we put signs up on 95, we've put other signs around for things, and we do for certain streets, we have to go through the state, and the request would come from the mayor's office. So I will work with him on next steps, and with Transportation and Traffic Committee, of which you are on, so we'll all be kept up to date. Councilor Reynolds.
And so this goes along with it. I move to refer the following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation: to erect signs on County Street that indicate a right turn at Commerce Way, coming from Attleboro Center, will bring you to the on-ramps for 95 North and South, Route 123, or signage indicating that staying straight on County Street will bring you to Route 95 on-ramps by way of Newport Avenue in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
Second.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I follow along the same lines, that it's, you know, it's a bit confusing. I understand what the constituent was saying. She also spoke about how she has several friends of people that she knows that drive vehicles, trucks, you know, and they bring things back and forth, and, you know, they're new to it, and they don't know how to get to 95, you know. I mean, I guess if you know the area, we know it. But if you don't know the area and you're traveling, you know, you're just kind of lost there. Where are you going from one end of the city to the other? So it makes some sense, but again, I don't think it's in our purview to make that decision.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Again, I'm going to refer that to Transportation and Traffic, and also to the administration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, for new business, Councilor Delissio.
Thank you, President Cooper. Motion, I move to refer the following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation: to change the ordinance as it relates to appointing authority. Section 13-7, Civil Service Appointments, amended 6/16/92, strike the following in its entirety. 13-7.1, Appointing Authority. Notwithstanding any other ordinance, the mayor shall be the civil service appointing authority for all departments, boards, and commissions of the city, with the exceptions of positions under control of the school department. Replace with 13-7.1, 10.1 Appointing Authority. Notwithstanding any other ordinance, the mayor shall be the civil service appointing authority for all departments, boards, and commissions of the city, with the exceptions of the positions under the control of the school department, the fire department, and the police department. Notwithstanding any other ordinance, the police chief shall be the civil service appointing authority for the police department. Notwithstanding any other ordinance, the fire chief shall be the civil service appointing authority for the fire department.
Second?
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Delicio.
Thank you. With the ever-changing landscape of public safety, I think the chiefs are probably the most logical choice to be the appointing authority when it comes to their departments. When I look at some of our neighboring communities and similar communities, Fall River, the chiefs have the appointing authority. New Bedford, the chiefs have the appointing authority. Taunton, it's actually the city council that has the appointing authority, where they have to sit in on all the interviews. I don't know that that's the right measure to go. I think that the chiefs are the right avenue to have. This is something that would just be returning it to the way it was previous to June of 1992 when Mayor Shang made that change. As it is a little late, I still like a little levity. I remember former Patriots coach Bill Parcells saying, if you want me to cook the meal, I'd like to be able to shop for the groceries. So.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, hearing none. This requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Opposed? Motion.
No.
Is that no? Yeah. So 10 yeas, 1 nay. Motion passed. Ms. Holmes, that's right. And I am going to refer that to Public Safety and Emergency Management. And that, I think, is a wrap. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:36.
Well done, President.